Welcome back to our channel, where we bring you the most explosive, deeply analyzed, and thrilling updates from the glamorous, cutthroat world of Los Angeles fashion. Today is a brilliant day to dive into the latest shocking developments that are guaranteed to leave you breathless. The landscape of daytime television is shifting beneath our feet, and the stakes have never been higher for our favorite characters. The concept of destiny has always been the foundational bedrock upon which the epic romance of Brooke Logan and Ridge Forrester was built. For decades, through countless betrayals, misunderstandings, rivalries, and external manipulations, their magnetic pull toward one another has been the undeniable truth of their universe. They have weathered storms that would have easily shattered lesser couples, always finding their way back to each other's arms, whispering promises of forever. However, the latest developments in Los Angeles are proving that even the most deeply entrenched destiny can be fractured when the bonds of family, corporate ambition, and unyielding pride collide in a catastrophic explosion of resentment. The battle lines have been drawn, not in the bedroom, but in the boardroom, and the collateral damage is poised to be absolutely devastating. The tension has been steadily mounting within the glass-walled executive offices of Forrester Creations for weeks. Steffy Forrester Finnegan, wielding her executive power with an increasingly dictatorial grip, has systematically marginalized the Logan family's influence within the company. Her decision to repeatedly stall Hope Logan's beloved Hope for the Future line in favor of prioritizing Eric Forster's couture collection was the initial spark that ignited this current inferno. Steffy's condescending dismissal of Hope, culminating in her arrogant challenge of, or what, was a fatal miscalculation. She assumed that the Logans would simply bow their heads and accept their diminished roles, as they had done so many times before when faced with the formidable Forrester matriarchy. But Steffy severely underestimated the radicalization of Hope Logan, and more importantly, she tragically underestimated the dormant, fierce protective instincts of Brooke Logan. When Hope finally reached her breaking point, she did not simply retreat to lick her wounds. She actively weaponized her mother. Hope's impassioned plea for Brooke to fight for the co-CEO seat was a desperate cry for justice, a demand that the Logan family finally claim the respect and power they rightfully deserve. Brooke, fueled by a potent mixture of maternal outrage and her own long-suppressed ambition, agreed to take up the sword. She was ready to challenge Steffy for the throne, believing that Ridge would finally see reason, recognize Steffy's tyrannical behavior, and support his wife in restoring balance to the company they had all built together. But Ridge Forrester, a man who has historically struggled to balance the competing demands of the women in his life, made a fateful, perhaps unforgivable choice. When confronted with Brooke's demands for equality and respect, Ridge instinctively moved to protect his daughter. He threw his full weight behind Steffy, validating her authority and effectively dismissing Brooke's grievances as mere familial squabbling. In doing so, Ridge did not just protect Steffy's position. He sent a clear, agonizing message to Brooke that, when the chips are down, she will always be secondary to the Forrester bloodline. He ignored the prophetic warnings delivered just days prior by Carter Walton, who had explicitly cautioned that their arrogant decisions would reap devastating consequences. Ridge's blind loyalty to Steffy has now birthed a monster, awakening a ruthless, calculating side of Brooke Logan that he has not seen in decades. The realization that Ridge would allow Steffy to humiliate her family day after day without consequence triggered a profound psychological break within Brooke. The soft, forgiving matriarch who always prioritized peace and her destiny, with Ridge vanished, replaced by a cold, strategic titan of industry. Brooke realized that playing by Forrester rules within the walls of Forrester Creations was a losing game. To truly protect her family and exact the respect they were owed, she needed to change the battlefield entirely. She needed to build an empire capable of casting a shadow over the Forrester legacy, an empire so vast and powerful that Steffy's executive chair would look like a child's toy in comparison. In a move of sheer, unprecedented brilliance and extreme ruthlessness, Brooke orchestrated a secret, high-stakes meeting that will forever alter the corporate landscape of Los Angeles. She bypassed the familiar, emotionally charged corridors of Forrester Creations and walked straight into the cold, imposing steel and glass fortress of Spencer Publications. There, she convened with the two people who possessed the exact resources, ambition, and motivation required to execute her vision: Bill Spencer and her sister, Katie Logan Spencer. The atmosphere in Bill's office must have been electric, thick with the intoxicating scent of impending vengeance and limitless possibility. Only days ago, Brooke and Katie were at odds, their sisterly bond strained by Katie's aggressive business tactics and her controversial use of Eric Forster's designs for her debut collection. Brooke had even offered Katie a highly conditional olive branch, still clinging to her loyalty to the Forster brand. But Ridge's betrayal shattered those conditions. In the face of a common, existential threat, the unchecked arrogance of Steffy Forrester, the Logan sisters miraculously set aside their recent friction. Blood proved thicker than corporate water, and their shared history of being marginalized by the Forresters bound them together in a formidable, unbreakable alliance. Brooke laid out a master plan so audacious that it undoubtedly brought a predatory, gleeful smile to Bill Spencer's face. She proposed a complete, synergistic merger of the rapidly ascending Logan fashion brand into the colossal, infinite financial machinery of Spencer Publications. Bill and Katie had already tasted massive global success with their recent billboard campaign, proving the viability of the Logan name on the world stage. But Brooke was not offering them just another successful collection. She was offering them the keys to a kingdom. With Brooke's insider knowledge of Forrester's operations, Hope's unparalleled status as a millennial fashion icon, Katie's sharp business acumen, and Bill's ruthless, bottomless capital, this newly forged Spencer Logan conglomerate would not just compete with Forrester Creations. It was explicitly designed to swallow it whole. Bill Spencer, a man whose appetite for power is matched only by his historical affection for the Logan women, recognized the sheer genius of the maneuver. He has long despised Ridge Forrester, viewing him as an arrogant, entitled dressmaker. The opportunity to fund a corporate war machine commanded by Brooke Logan, aimed directly at Ridge's legacy, was a temptation Bill could never resist. By agreeing to this monumental merger, Bill effectively transformed the Logan brand from a fledgling boutique operation into a global apex predator, armed and ready to dismantle Forrester Creations piece by piece. Armed with the backing of a multi-billion-dollar media and fashion empire, Brooke returned to the Forrester mansion, not as a pleading wife, but as a conquering general delivering terms of surrender. The confrontation between Brooke and Ridge that followed will undoubtedly go down in the annals of television history as one of the most emotionally charged, devastating scenes ever broadcast. The warmth and familiarity of their shared home provided a jarring, tragic contrast to the icy, uncompromising reality of Brooke's declaration. Brooke did not mince words. She looked into the eyes of the man she has loved for the better part of her life and delivered a shattering truth. Their love, their legendary destiny, could not possibly survive in an environment where he actively enabled his daughter to degrade and humiliate the Logan family. She articulated the deep, festering wounds that Steffy's reign of terror had inflicted, not just on Hope, but on the very concept of their blended family. Brooke made it abundantly clear that her capacity for forgiveness had been entirely exhausted. The days of turning the other cheek, of compromising her family's dignity for the sake of marital harmony, were officially over. Then came the ultimatum, a ticking time bomb dropped directly into the center of Ridge's world. Brooke demanded that Ridge strip Steffy of her executive control, her co-CEO title, and her unchecked authority within 24 hours. It was a staggering, absolute demand, devoid of any room for negotiation or compromise. She laid out the consequences with chilling clarity. If Ridge failed to remove Steffy from power before the clock ran out, Brooke would officially launch the Spencer Logan empire. She promised to become the biggest, most ruthless, and most heavily funded rival he had ever faced on the corporate battlefield. She vowed to poach their talent, outspend their marketing, undercut their distribution, and systematically dismantle the legacy that Eric Forrester had built. The psychological torment inflicted upon Ridge in that moment must have been paralyzing. For years, he has coasted on his charm, his talent, and the assumption that the women in his life would eventually bend to his will. He believed that his defense of Steffy was merely a temporary measure, a way to maintain the status quo. He never anticipated that Brooke would escalate the conflict to a nuclear level. The 24-hour deadline is a masterful stroke of psychological warfare, forcing Ridge into an agonizing, impossible corner. He must now choose between publicly humiliating his fiercely proud daughter by stripping her of her life's work, or facing the total annihilation of his family's company at the hands of the woman he loves. Furthermore, Brooke's ultimatum carries a profound, tragic personal cost. By threatening to destroy Forrester Creations, she is inherently threatening the foundation of their marriage. The destiny that has survived amnesia, presumed deaths, and countless affairs is now crumbling under the weight of corporate ambition and maternal vengeance. Ridge is forced to confront the terrifying reality that Brooke is entirely willing to sacrifice their relationship to protect hope and the Logan legacy. The soft, romantic lighting of their past has been replaced by the harsh, unforgiving fluorescent glare of a boardroom execution. Meanwhile, Steffy Forrester remains blissfully unaware of the apocalyptic storm gathering just over the horizon. She believes she has won. She believes that by securing her father's backing, she has effectively neutralized the Logan threat, cementing her undisputed rule over Forrester Creations. She likely views her recent interactions with Hope as a definitive victory, proof that the Forresters will always reign supreme. But her hubris has blinded her to the very real, very dangerous consequences of her actions. Carter Walton's desperate warnings echo in the silent spaces of the executive suite, a ghostly reminder of the disaster Steffy has brought upon herself. When the 24 hours expire and the full, terrifying might of the Spencer-Logan alliance is unleashed upon the market, Steffy will realize too late that she did not just win an argument with Hope. She started a world war with Brooke. The ripple effects of this cataclysmic shift will touch every single character in Los Angeles. Donna Logan, who has spent the past week watching in horror as her sister's ambitions threatened to tear their family apart, will now find herself caught in the crossfire of a corporate holy war. Hope Logan, who felt entirely marginalized and defeated, will experience a profound, intoxicating vindication as she watches her mother transform into an unstoppable force of nature, backed by the infinite resources of Liam's father. Even Liam Spencer, who initially advised Hope to leave Forrester, will be stunned by the sheer scale and audacity of Brooke's masterstroke. As the clock violently ticks down on Brooke's 24-hour ultimatum, the tension in Los Angeles is palpable, suffocating, and utterly thrilling. We are witnessing the death of an era and the violent, spectacular birth of a new, ruthless paradigm. Will Ridge Forrester swallow his pride, betray his daughter, and strip Steffy of her power to save his company and his marriage? Or will he stand his ground, daring Brooke to pull the trigger and plunge the fashion world into a devastating, all-consuming war? Whatever choice he makes, one thing is absolutely certain. The bold and the beautiful will never, ever be the same again. The era of destiny has ended.